Okay, let's take a few minutes here to go through our first Unit 1 essay exam assignment. This is posted, of course, within our module for this week. And the first thing to take note of is that you'll be handing this paper in through Turnitin, which is linked directly in the assignment hand-in feature within this page. This is to check for plagiarism, both for yourself and for myself, and you will be able to view that plagiarism report of your paper. So granted, just the similarities of English language, some phrases or words are going to show up as related to other people's work, but any sort of percentage score above 10%, you should be getting pretty aware of your similarity to other people's work. And then particularly if it's above 20%, you really want to start to look at what sentences you might have been using that came from other places. And it's fine to take a direct quote and cite it, but direct quotes are utilized for especially poignant or very important sentences. Usually you would only have one or maybe two of those in a 5-page paper. So on that note, to look at a little more in depth from last week and throughout the semester of these 3 prompts, you'll notice the first exam is 200 points. As well, why would a student of humankind invest in the study of geography? So this prompt begins to encapsulate a lot of what we've looked at in this first unit as far as what is the field of geography, what is it as a discipline, why is it important, and we're asking here for specific examples of how geographic awareness is utilized and ignored. So in each chapter we've taken a keen look at ways that we're bringing geographic awareness to this course, to the world, how humans in different places throughout the world use their geographic skills and tools, from everything in academic disciplines down into daily life, such as how we know how to get around our cities or our rural areas or our forests. And then so that you really want to make sure to answer this question as well: should any discipline ignore geography? So even in your thesis statement, you could have that be clear from the start. It would be great. For number 2, providing a geographic interpretation of the concept of culture. We've looked at, and you've been working on in your outlines, this concept of culture, the various definitions that we've looked at in the text and readings through communicating as a group. Key definitions, most significant processes, and critical variables. This expands on that variation that we've seen in culture. You know, we even talk about workplace culture or the sports culture, ranging all the way to North American culture or human culture. And these are all various scales or iterations of culture, and they all speak to a shared way of seeing, shared form of anything from behaviors, myths, institutions. So all these take on various different iterations when looking at the processes in which they're absorbed or transformed around the world through time and place, the critical variables such as time and place. And so again, we end with a question in this prompt: does culture make us unique? And so making sure to answer that in your thesis statement. And number 3 is the world crowded, and describe and demonstrate the most significant perceptions and realities of human populations today and in the past. So you'd want to answer that in your thesis statement, of course, so that it's asserting your position for the paper. And perceptions and realities, right, in terms of 1 billion people over 1 billion people in India, some of the most densely populated cities in the world, might not see overcrowded to some people there. However, with our how we're accustomed in North America to being around a lot of people, that might seem more crowded to us. So taking a look at how perceptions and realities can vary around the world. Assess the most likely prospects for the human condition as far as what's going to happen with population growth or decline, and 4 viable solutions to these issues. To continue from there, we look at the guidelines for essays. It's to be typed, of course, double-spaced, and the standard college criteria there. Using the grading criteria from the syllabus for preparing and reviewing. So being very aware of that from the start. And it's also down below here. We'll get to it in a little bit. But if you want, you can refer back to the syllabus in week 1. Is required to cite, or this is CITE, or refer to graphics such as maps, images, to illustrate your points. You don't need to copy and paste them in. Sorry, there should be an E after the T there. Essay breakdown should be approximately 1/3 of each: the text, course discussion, and your interpretation and analysis. So this is just approximate, doesn't have to be exactly, but there's also the peer-reviewed article we looked at last week. And I have this next point: professor approval is required for use of all additional sources, because sometimes some students come up with some pretty outlandish internet websites, and you really want to stick to what we've deemed as appropriate for the course: peer-reviewed journal articles, reputable news media outlets, and especially the text and other info that I've loaded onto the course here. And some general suggestions to practice learned resourcefulness. So the resources that are available both in the library and online, Learning Resource Center, avoiding procrastination, developing appropriate help-seeking behaviors. So not waiting until the night before the paper is due, or even 2 days before the paper is due to ask questions, but asking your questions in advance. It's great to ask questions, but timeliness is important. So on that note, asking questions, learning to recognize and utilize resources such as the library, fellow students, myself, the tutoring available in the resource center, study groups even though it's online. We can link you with other students. If you're interested in that, let me know. And embracing realistic goals and priorities. Very important. And so here's the grading criteria for the essay exams, very transparent up front from the start. Content, looking at a thought-provoking thesis, statement, analysis that demonstrates critical and analytical thinking, avoidance of generalizations that are not supported by evidence. That's very important, because we want to try to be as specific as possible in geography and social sciences in general, overall. Likewise, evidence, specific examples that support your conclusions. As you can see as we go throughout the course so far, even there's a lot of emphasis on examples. And this is a great way for learning to proceed. Use of required readings and course dialogues, essay prompt answered thoroughly. So not leaving any parts of the essay prompt unanswered. As well as organization, the focus thesis, coherent progression of ideas, focus paragraphs, effective transitions, and insightful conclusion. That's why we did the outlining exercise last week, an assignment in that, so that you can have practice in a very structured essay. And starting from the outline will be able to help you move into writing the full essay very skillfully. And presentation techniques such as maps, charts, tables that are referenced to support your main arguments. So instead of just justifying an argument with words, it adds a large amount of weight and evidence behind it to refer to a graphic so that it demonstrates your learning and understanding, and also integration of those materials. Generally free of mechanical errors. It's also important in the college level course here, university transferable, right? We want to make sure these are well revised and edited. And lastly, citations, the textbook, course discussions, and especially your interpretation and analysis, if you want to cite that as well. And these are all equally weighted to comprise your score. So if you have any questions on this, let me know, and look forward to reading your exams. Take care.